the cop comes on the plane, right, when you land, and takes over the little speaker from the air hostesses, and he comes on and goes, "Hi everyone, I'm Sergeant so and so from the Auckland Police. I'm here representing the New Zealand government. I'll be helping you through the managed isolation process. You'll be getting off this plane and getting on a bus to Hamilton." And you could sort of feel everyone was like, "Ugh," but the truth is, but mainly because we had to go on a bus. Like when you've been on a plane for 13 hours, you don't want to get on a bus. But we got here, and there are definitely fancy hotels in the world. It's not 5-star, but it's honestly been great. It's been totally fine. And I think the hotel that I'm in has one of the biggest exercise areas.
Right.
So, like there are some places where you can only, walk about 15 or 20 meters before you have to turn around. And here you can walk for a loop of about 200 meters, which is actually not nothing. So, when we arrived here, the army guys who are running this place were like, "Hey, we know you're tired, you've been on a plane, you've been on a bus, but actually you've done pretty well. You've lucked in here because you're going to be able to walk a whole lot more than a lot of other people."
Gee, when you hear things like that, I mean, I hope Laura Ingham's not picking up on this podcast. I'm sure she's not. She's a frequent viewer, but I'm sure she'll miss this one. When you hear about the fucking police getting onto the plane and the army looking after you at the thing, you kind of go, gosh, you can see how someone might get the wrong end of the stick if they didn't get the full context of what this thing is.
Yeah, although, it's embarrassing, though, how far everyone seems to go out of their way to make you feel incredibly welcome. Like, people are comically nice throughout this process. They've been comically nice throughout this entire process. So I really just feel I'm not going to moan about anything because people have just gone out of their way to be nice. And like all the army guys, they're actually, you can see why they're a good option running these things because they're all about systems, right?
Yeah,
they're all about organization. And so it's a big logistical exercise. So our hotel, for example, is separated into 5 different wings. And those wings aren't supposed to cross over. So every day or every night at dinner, I get a little piece of paper that says, tomorrow your wings outside time is 8 until 9 and then 3 until 4. And then someone else in a different wing would have different times. And then those times change every day. And then it says, these are the times that you've got to go and see the nurse to, have your temperature taken and ask if you've got any symptoms, those sorts of things. So, and then you've got, in this hotel, food for 160 people, some with dietary requirements and all that sort of thing. So you can see why having the army, which are very like structure, system, organizational processes, is actually quite a sensible decision. And they're all lovely. Yeah, everyone's super nice and joking around and stuff. So it's all good.
And I'm assuming they have those 5 wings. It's a bit, funnily enough, a bit like how during COVID, TVNZ had the 2 teams. Means if there's an infection that comes up in one of those areas, if it was to break through, it's only going to go through 1/5 of the people, no further, because there's never the crossover.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
And you can, I mean, it's just a way of, you still got to socially distance. So like no one I don't, come within a few meters of anyone from my wing. But the idea is that you still, I think it just makes it easier for managing people throughout the day as well. So you've kind of got big bubbles, but you also can just, it's easier so you don't have everyone turning up, lining up to see the nurse at the same time or lining up to go for a walk at the same time. You can kind of stagger it throughout the day. So it makes a lot of sense. But, I look at the logistics involved just with running this place, and then I think, oh, shit, we've got 32 of these around the country. It's a big it's a big effort. And I've been critical of the government for a few stuff ups, like not testing frontline workers, which I still think is totally unacceptable. But, and I think they've hopefully sorted that sort of stuff out. But I can still see that it is a big logistical exercise to get this sort of stuff up and running.
With the stuff you've got to do each day, like the temperature, nurse, food, exercise, does it also mean you feel like it's not like you're just sitting in your room doing nothing? Is there enough going on within the facility that you have to do that you've kind of got enough of a timetable that you're not too bored?
This is it. You've actually got appointments, eh? Yeah. So I never go more than a few hours without having something on. It's never like, I've got to do 10 hours except for overnight, 10 hours in my room. I always, so you actually you can go if you want to go for vigorous exercise, go for a run or something, you can do that before 8 o'clock in the morning. And that's, and they just restrict the number of people out there, so you don't need to do that with your wing. But then if you do that, then you've got breakfast at 8 o'clock, and then you've probably got a walk sometime between 9 o'clock and midday, or 8 o'clock and midday, and then you've got lunch, and then you've probably got another walk or a visit to the nurse sometime that afternoon before dinner. So you've always got little things every couple of hours. It's actually quite clever, the way they kind of, like your schedule comes in, your piece of paper comes in every night, and it says blah blah blah. It's quite a good way of doing things.
Sounds like you're preparing yourself for a retirement village. I'm just thinking about that. Sounds exactly like a 75-year-old would do in a retirement complex. Often see the nurse and have their walking time, and so you'll be good to go, Jack.
Yeah, get my pureed food. Yeah, it's good.